Yeah, appreciate everybody for tuning in. It's a topic I wanted to talk about with this Brian Norman and Devin Haney fight coming up. It's a huge fight coming up. Huge fight. And this fight right here is putting pressure on everybody. You know, it's a lot of people that said that these were two guys who were ducking a lot of people. And for these guys to take this fight right now, it put a lot of pressure on other fighters. A lot of pressure. Because whoever come out of this fight a winner is definitely gonna be the guy from 47 down. I know we still got anyway a lot of other names around, but opponents they're fighting, and then people said they haven't fought some. They said Brian Norman didn't fight a skilled boxer. They said Devin Haney didn't fight a power puncher. Outside of Ryan Garcia. So now everybody's getting their wish. That's why in boxing, this is a game changer. You know, boxers are supposed to do things that people say they can't do or they won't do. That happens a lot. And that's how you become great. So these guys taking the fight alone is just it's greatness already. And I can feel the energy around this fight. We got a lot of big fights coming up, like Ortiz and Lubin. They still talking about Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez early next year. You got Roach and Pitbull, Janovic Lara, Foster and Fulton. It's a lot of fights coming up. But Norman and Haney shows that one thing that people have been saying about these guys throughout their career is they don't want to take certain fights and that they're ducking. That label has been taken away from them forever. At this point, anybody who say that just hating. That's why I say this is a game changer in boxing because now other guys know these type of fights. After Norman just went out there and floored Sasaki. Who people said he didn't look good on tape, can't really box, skills not really there. People say he didn't have power. Now all that changed in one fight. So one more fight will definitely change a lot. It definitely will. And at the age they're at right now, these type of fights don't go on. That's why I said this is changing boxing right here. Because you gotta think of the guys who's older than Norman and the guys who's the same age as Devin Haney. They're not moving like this. It's calculated moving. Very calculated. Out of anybody who probably could fall back right now and just do their own thing for the next 2 years, it could have been Haney out of anybody. He could have been like, yeah, I just fight whoever I want to fight. I ain't got to chase certain people right now. But the man put out a list, and he's following the list. I mean, whoever questioned his heart is in trouble. He's saying, ooh, who should I fight? Oh, you should fight Norman. Okay. Fight done before you know it. And mind you, he ain't taking no tune-ups at 147. He's definitely not. So He definitely believes in his ability all the way. So yeah, this is definitely a game changer in my eyes. I want to see how a lot of these opponents they get in the ring with these guys in the future, how they'll look compared to this fight coming up. They both have who's who have a lot more skill than what they're facing in November. If you take the toughest fights, everything else after that gets easier. So they're gonna get better regardless. But the power from Norman, people know I'm picking him to win this fight. And you know, people definitely gonna go, but because like I've said before, for these guys to have at this time in their careers, and especially now, I'm waiting on everybody else to start mixing it up. But the most impressive thing about that fight was it was made, it didn't drag out, nothing. That's training right now. I don't know, man. It's gonna be hard to pick for this fight. Hard to pick. Norman all the way locked in. I think he's been locked in for a while now, especially after the doubt that he was ducking Jerron Ennis. I think after that he's been in a different mode because if you seen the opponents he's been fighting, I saw the Cuevas fight recently. Man, Cuevas did not want to continue. I seen that fight. Cuevas did not want to continue in that fight. That shocked me the most. I said, "Whoa, this dude Cuevas does not want to continue." Yeah, he was shook. And that's a guy who was a decent opponent. He wasn't he was a contender for sure, but that was a good matchup that definitely didn't go the way I expected. I'm talking about that man Cuevas, man. When I seen that fight, I was like, "Whoa, this dude does not want any smoke." Yeah, this is a good matchup though, man. I haven't been this excited for a fight in a minute. Now you know this is a big fight because the main event is not being talked about as much as this fight. When the main event is not being talked about as much, you know it's a big fight. Every time. But over the next 5 years, in my eyes, what I see from Norman and Haney right now over the next 5 years, it's gonna be no excuse for anybody else to get in the ring with these unless they have a draw. So at that point, a lot of people should be trying to get in the ring with one of these guys after this fight. Too. I'm looking at the guys around their age right now, and I'm like, man, they're not really taking the chances right now. Some will say they're not getting the chance, but I know a couple of people that had a chance to fight Norman. It just didn't happen. Because Teofimo had a chance, and it was for a title. Just never happened. It went to Shakur. I think him fighting Shakur is going to be a tough matchup. He hasn't fought too many slick guys like that. We seen the Jermaine Ortiz matchup, and just the movement that he had was causing trouble. We gonna see though. See your face, but I don't know. As that fight gets closer, once it gets, I think that's when that fight's gonna have a lot of hype behind it. Right now, in between now and then, get too excited. But I think it's a good fight though. Haney fight. That's the biggest fight of the year right now. Biggest fight of the year. And Haney's starting to get this trend where a lot of the fights he's in is like top 2 biggest fight of the year. 1 or 2. Because the fight with Ryan last year got a lot of backlash, but a lot of people watched it, tuned in, reacted. And just because of that. Major star power. For that reason alone, it's going to be a lot of people tuning in. Hard to tell. In this fight, because I just haven't seen too many styles. Like Devin's fought Loma, Regis, Ryan. And do similar things that all those guys did, but just a different kind of style all the way around. Norman, he's been sparring a lot of guys and facing a lot of different styles, so I think he's gonna be at all. I think the build too much adjustment or things you need to improve on from here. The thing that people don't realize is his jab and left hook, like his reactions and the burst he has. That's the only thing I can see. Super fast. As far as like that split second, he definitely might be faster than Devin Haney. Like that split second. Yeah. With that burst he has, he can just go boom. I've seen it where I've seen him do it. But his right hook is underrated too though. I think Brian Norman Jr.'s right hook is super underrated. The left hook is the weapon, but that right hook, It got the same kind of speed on it, and it doesn't curl around too much. It gets there a lot faster. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be a good matchup though. But it's different when you're in a fight because he probably spars some stronger guys. But when you're in a fight, it definitely causes some issues. Then he's young. He's not really thinking about guys to go against. Some of these other guys have been caught before and put him back. But he's fighting a guy who's not going to be careful. And he's going to take a lot of these guys will say that, like, man, I'm trying to knock the guy out. They don't really try to do that. Because we seen De Los Santos get in the ring with Shakur, but he didn't try to knock him out, though. I think we'll see the opposite from Norman. He's not going to be in that ring for 30 minutes and not try to knock Haney out. But I think the knockout thing is bigger than actually what the fight is going to mean, because people are looking for a knockout, but he might go in there and, hey, what if he hurts him early? He might not recover, and he just outboxes him the last 8 or 9 rounds. That'll be a more realistic scenario than anything else. He might go out there and outbox him. I would definitely say that if I had to think off the top of my mind, yeah, Norman one of the best boxers he'd have fought outside of Lomachenko. Like skill wise, yeah, skill wise, he's probably the best opponent he's had outside of Lomachenko as far as the skill. But all around fighter, I would say Norman the most dangerous so far because he can do it all. What's up, 23 Benji? Yeah, it's definitely a 50-50 fight. Like right now, I'm leaning towards Norman, but I'm like, man, he's sparring the right guys. He putting on size. I think he played possum that fight with Ramirez. That fight with Ramirez, it's really gonna help him out because he's gonna do a lot more the next fight, and people gonna have that thought in their mind like, oh, he's just gonna do the same thing he did in Ramirez fight. So when he stays toe to toe and um, he gonna stand there like the Crawford did. But once he does that, people gonna be like, oh man. So they're expecting him to move around, but he's not gonna move around as much as people think. Because he's not really gonna be a smaller guy. He's not a small guy like people think. And then at 47, guys get stronger as they move up. So who knows? But I think Norman, if I was him, I'd go to the body, man. I'd go to the body on which he's gonna do. He's definitely gonna go to the body. And I think that's where things will get difficult, like in the inside. I want to see how Norman I think he can take advantage of Haney in the inside. Just because of his reaction. Like Norman, he has one of those counters like Ruiz has. Like how Ruiz caught Joshua on the inside. That one punch had Joshua hurt the rest of the fight. He couldn't even recover. But Norman has that kind of reaction and speed, so you can't really hang in the pocket on the inside and fight with him too much. And then out of breaks, or even if you think you're breaking or clinching, he might catch you then. Coming in for a clinch, he might catch you then. But for me, I'm more so looking at him If he get a knockout, that's gonna be crazy. But I'm looking at him getting a knockdown or possibly just having Devin Haney like kind of out of it a little bit. I can see that happen. But Devin Haney has a chin though. And he'll be able to recover and get up and box. Yeah, him getting knocked down and getting up, he'll win 5 rounds in a row. That ain't gonna matter. But if his equilibrium's off for a lot of rounds, that'll just make it easy for Norman. But yeah, that power can be a factor, man. You ain't gotta knock somebody out to make a difference. I think he could just him landing the power shots and the body shots and just changing the strategy. Like if Haney wants to go in there and get some shots in the inside and go to his body a lot, and Norman is in a position where he's gonna counter, instead of being first, he might have an advantage. Yeah, but he's gonna try to just stop whatever strategy Haney's trying to do. But fight on the inside is definitely gonna be something I'm looking forward to. A good inside fight. Norman's good at cutting off the ring, at countering, but sometimes he'll take a shot to give a shot, which is a lot of times works out. Works out sometimes. In boxing, you ain't gonna go a whole fight without getting hit. So obviously you're gonna get touched up, but the movement from Norman is gonna be good though. The way he cuts off the ring, has very good footwork. And that's the thing that Haney has taken advantage of too in a lot of fights. Like a lot of these guys don't have good footwork. Like Lomachenko was able to keep up with the footwork, but a lot of other guys couldn't really get it done. Ramirez, Prograis. So I think Norman's footwork and his countering ability is going to be superb in this fight. Just got to stay sharp as the rounds go on, because one thing about Haney, he's disciplined, man. I know people say it a lot about him getting knocked down by Ryan, but he was disciplined late in that fight. And he was still aggressive coming forward. That's what people don't realize. He was still, in that last round of that Ryan fight, he was still coming forward. So I expect more of that next fight. He know he's in that type of fight, so that's going to happen. And then you never know, man. A lot of times, the last fight can be set up for the next fight. But Haney would do a good job if he was able to master that uppercut for this fight. If he was able to master that uppercut for this fight, that's going to take him a long way. And I've seen him use some good uppercuts. If he's able to use that same uppercut I've seen in the past, that'll get him through some rounds pretty easy. As far as with those exchanges in the inside. But as far as the size, I don't think that's going to be an advantage in this point. As far as the long arms, I don't think the long arms is going to be an advantage. Because like I said, even with Norman, what I've seen, Norman's able to get in and out with a lot of punches very fast. And power shots. And the craziest thing I've seen from Norman is he don't have to have his both feet on the ground to knock somebody out. Like he'll kind of leap into you and knock you out for real. Which is, everybody ain't doing that. I've seen Tank do it. Yeah, everybody ain't doing that though. To be honest with you, this is a harder fight than Tank Davis. I'm gonna be real with y'all. This is a harder fight than facing Tank Davis. I know everybody said Tank was the fight they wanted to see with Devin Haney. This is a harder fight. He really Haney really saved a lot of people because if he wasn't in the way, it wouldn't be a lot of people trying to take this matchup. That's why I said if Norman gets past this fight, you ain't gonna hear too many people calling him out. You're definitely not gonna hear too many people calling him out. They can say what they want, but this will be impressive to a lot of people. Yeah, his arms is an inch longer than Devin Haney, so it's not gonna be a problem. Like I said, the size, that's not gonna be an issue. Yeah, I think the size, man, he's gonna be all right. Like fighting Ryan and Ramirez, that's about the closest thing you can get to a 47. And Ramirez, his arms are the same length as Brian Norman. So, like I said, that last matchup prepared Haney a little more than people realize. It's just gonna be the power and the toughness from Norman and the speed. It's a lot of stuff he brings to the table. He's not a regular boxer. I'll just say that at this point, even before the last knockout he had, he wasn't a regular boxer before that. Like the way he went out there and destroyed, uh, what's his name, Cuevas. Man, y'all gotta go back and look at that fight. That dude Cuevas went to the corner, blinking his eyes. He was like, "Yeah, I'm done with this." I don't know if he couldn't see or what, but yeah, he got rocked a couple times in that fight. Yeah, but that's real power. Once you see a guy get hit like that in the fight, that's when I knew, oh man, he got some real power. Well, the Centillion fight was really when I knew, but at this point, he got some generational power. Because a lot of these guys that Norman stopping, at this point, they never been stopped before. Sasaki got stopped before, but he got stopped by a power puncher too, though. Yeah, once you get into that range where you start stopping people who never been stopped, that's when things starting to change. Yeah, I can't wait till that fight happens. I don't think the fight is overshadowing the Benavidez fight with Yard because I think people still tuning in to that. I am too. I'm still looking out for that fight. But you just know a matchup like this it's a generational fight. In my eyes, it's the best fight you can make right now. You'll have bigger names, but these other guys you can match up with Haney right now, they probably wouldn't beat Brian Norman. That's why I say this is one of the biggest fights right now. The biggest fight, actually. A lot of guys you can match up right now with Haney probably won't even beat Brian Norman. Then this is two guys that was supposed to they was in negotiations with Boots recently. Brian Norman and Devin Haney. Now both of these guys are fighting each other. And they was labeled as ducking. I wouldn't say it's a prove it fight, but this is a fight to let everybody know that they both arrived at this point. Because even though Ortiz is fighting Lubin, that's a tough fight. Roach fighting Pitbull, that's a tough fight. But Norman fighting Haney, it don't get no tougher than that. Because if so, Ryan would have ran the rematch back already. You know what I'm saying? Norman that made people forget about the Ryan rematch. That's how big this fight is. And I know ain't nobody picking Ryan to beat Brian Norman. That's why I say a lot of guys got saved in this situation. Because if Haney was not, if he was still at 140, I highly doubt it'd be anybody calling out Brian Norman right now at 47. So he's the only one. What's up, Aaron? What's going on, man? Shout out to Aaron Griffin. Yeah, Norman's the only one that called Haney's the only one that called out Norman. Outside of Haney, let me see if I seen um oh, Polanco did a while ago. He said something, but then, you know. So we'll see how that looks in the future, but that was a softball call out. Yeah, nobody really, man. I don't see nobody really calling him out. Ryan, I don't see no Rolly, no Barrios. Yeah, so that's why I said if Devin Haney is not a person who will be able to defeat Brian Norman for a long time, probably ever. Oh yeah, man, just chilling, man. Just chilling. Been covering some stuff. I was gonna go on here, some behind the scenes things just been handling. That's it. Just been handling some stuff behind the scenes. A lot more though. Just was moving around a little bit. Yeah, that was it. Just been moving around. I have been studying a lot of these fights recently too, so that's all I've been doing really. Just keeping up with the boxing news, stuff always changing. Kind of mad these fights got canceled recently though. It seems like this year all the time, between September and November, fights kind of slow down a little bit. Yeah, I was starting to get excited about that Thurman and Fedora fight, but yeah, they went away from it, man. I told myself after the I was gonna wait until after the Thurman and Fedora fight to really get into this Norman fight, but I said accept that and put in Ortiz. So let me just talk about this fight from now on. Yeah, that's what's up, man. It's starting to get colder now, so soon everybody gonna be in the house. So people just making their little moves before the weather change. The weather should be different in like 4 weeks. Yeah, I be trying to come on live when I can, man. Yeah, I just be coming on live when I can. But yeah, this matchup between oh yeah, I've been using that stuff too, man. I used that cellular cleanse too you gave me recently. Probably a couple of days ago. That stuff be working. Yeah, the herbs definitely been working though. I appreciate that. I gotta get a new phone too, man. If you hit my phone up, I broke my phone, man. I gotta get another phone. So if you called it, it's definitely broken. Yeah, I got another one coming though. But yeah, man, a lot of these fights they were talking about, he said I don't be getting any my notifications. I have to search you out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I already know. I had to YouTube. Shout out to YouTube, man. Yeah, YouTube, yeah. YouTube love me, you know. They do their oldest son dirty. Yeah, I figured that. That's why I had to fall back, man. You know what I'm saying? I be feeling them breathing on my neck, so sometimes I don't go live. If you see me not go live a lot, that's because Big Brother on. I've been chilling like I ain't even been doing that. But yeah, that's why I be chilling, man. I was gonna have a fire live. I was gonna do like a week and 2 weeks ago. I was like, nah, let me chill. Sometimes, I gotta sacrifice a good live for a lot of backlash. I be getting backlash now, don't I be getting backlash for sure. But I don't let it bother me though. I don't even be tripping. The one thing I learned is, if you can't do something the way you want to do it, don't do it. Or yeah, just don't do it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, they be pressing me hard though. The way especially after Canelo fight, yeah, they've been the way he did. I gotta be real with you. I've seen a lot. Yeah, it's definitely not a lot of like behind the scenes. They not happy about Canelo losing like that. They don't like the way direction he beat Canelo. Oh nah, we can't have boxing going in this direction. Oh no, these guys was right about that. Nah, we can't do that. That's what it's really about. You know what I'm saying? They want to get on here and pick and choose who you talk about. Like, bro, y'all ain't finna never. Your YouTube will never force me to talk about somebody when they want me to. That's what the real issue is. When they want me to talk about slander somebody, like, hey, nah, I do it when I want to. You know what I'm saying? Numbers will never be able to dictate the facts. They trying to have the numbers dictate the facts. Like, oh well, your numbers don't look like facts. Oh, all right then. Yeah, so that goes on all the time. But we got good matchups coming up in boxing that's gonna revive a lot of this stuff. A lot of stuff y'all seeing going on behind the scenes. I'm gonna have a video I'm gonna drop. Um, Oh yeah, anybody who want to be a member, man, definitely become a member. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna put some stuff out there, but I'm gonna put some on there later on where you're gonna be like, man, it's a lot of stuff. It's deeper than boxing. You know what I'm saying? It's deeper than boxing. Boxing has a history of certain things where it's just deep rooted in America, where it's just a certain way. You know what I'm saying? You got people talking about commissions and sanctioning bodies, bro. So they got a sanctioning body right now in Mexico that allegedly it helps a lot of Mexican fighters. Like that's already biased already. So outside of that, I don't know what people have a problem with as far as change. They don't want change to happen, but change has been going on. I remember when people was complaining about the zone. Man, I don't want to watch the zone, man. They trying to compete with these guys. Not everybody watching the zone. Talking about how good it is. Nobody likes change, but it's gonna happen though. And maybe it's not the best direction, but it's always gonna be change in boxing. It's just the change that's going on now is gonna be a lot more pressure. That's why you hear certain fan bases calling out people saying, "Hey man, we need this boxer to make this fight happen." That's why I was trying to tell everybody last year. Hey man, these guys ain't finna be fighting like Devin Haney. They're not. These guys, some of these guys have been in boxing 10 years longer than him. They're not gonna be fighting people like him. They're just not. Some of these guys ain't just cut out like that. These promoters don't believe in their fighters, and the fighters believe in the promoter. Now you got a lot of fighters walking around now talking about some man, things ain't go the way I thought it would. Because they in the business of making money. And you in the business of boxing. You want to be a great boxer, but they in the business of making money. So Turkey Al-Sheikh showed up like, oh, y'all care. Oh, they just care about money? Oh, okay, let's go ahead and make that happen then. The system ain't working. So yeah, that's why you got the matchups like this now. And then I'm gonna tell you something else too. And this is not a and I realized this a couple days ago. PBC ain't got that many fights. They only got Roach and Pitbull for the rest of the year. So if you're a fighter right now, it's almost like you getting forced to go to Matchroom or anybody else who's putting on fights on the zone. The zone putting on all the fights right now. They putting on all the fights right now. So it's a lot of people that was always saying, "Hey man, Terrence Crawford need to do this. He need to do that. He need to fight this person. He need to fight that guy." What I was telling everybody was, man, y'all making it hard for these dudes coming behind Terrence Crawford. These guys ain't finna be running around fighting people like Terrence Crawford, bro. Terrence Crawford is out of a video game. He ain't human. Guys gonna be hanging it up at 38 years old. 37 years old, these dudes gonna be hanging it up. You already got guys now 27 talking about, man, fighting 2 times a year is enough. Now you got Turkey Al-Sheikh handing out money. And dude's like, nah, I only want to fight 2 years. Man, please. Man, please. You getting career high paydays. You getting M's, like Danny Jacobs say. Nah, I'm only gonna fight twice a year, bro. You know what kind of quality boxer you gonna get out of somebody with a mindset like that? I'm just being real. So sometimes the quality going down because the mindset is not there. Nobody trying to seek and destroy. Nobody. That's why you can have unknown fighters that'll have a better fight than people say, oh, guys is getting paid. That's why they fighting a certain way. No, it's not that guys is getting paid a certain way. That's why they fighting a certain way. It's that some of these guys ain't qualified to be in the ring with certain people. And their competition is not bringing the best out of them. That's what really was going on with the Ryan and Rolly fight, with that matchup. When you look back, it wasn't good matchups. It wasn't something that people was asking for from the beginning. Even the Tiafimo and Barbosa, yeah, it was a cool fight on paper, but they ain't bring the best out of each other. Now you're gonna have Shakur Stevenson probably go out there and outdo that performance by Barbosa. Yeah, they better get it while the getting is good, man. Telling you. Telling you. Cause I be speaking for the boxers, but in a minute I'm gonna be like everybody else. Be a fan. I'm gonna be like, hey man, y'all need to do y'all job, bro. Because now they see it's hard to get a fight. But when other people was going through the situation, like I was saying about Joseph Parker, like he didn't see that they was trying to line up other heavyweights and not give him an opportunity. Now he fighting Fabio Wardley instead of fighting for a championship. He just fought Dubois. He just saw Dubois go out there and fight Usyk a second time. Then Dubois got so-called sick when they were supposed to fight. So yeah, it's a lot of that going on. How you go from you supposed to fight Dubois, you go from not fighting him because he's sick. Now you fighting Fabio Wardley, and this man coming off of lost to Usyk and about to fight Frank Sanchez for I think it's an interim title, final eliminator. Like man, yeah, that's the real main event right here between Haney and Norman. This the real fight right here. These guys ain't building up no fights. They ain't have to build this fight up. That's why I said you do not have to build fights up. These promoters and everybody else, they capping. This fight was not built up. This was all. By the time they signed this fight, a lot of people didn't even know that this was an option. They did not have to build this fight up. This fight was made on the spot. A lot of people wasn't even looking towards this matchup, but I heard Norman say he wanted to fight Haney last year. He said Haney or Ryan. And then earlier this year, Haney put out that list. They had Brian Norman Jr. name on there. I'm like, man, like Haney want that smoke. I think this was before Suzaki fight. I was like, man, he want that smoke. He put the man name on his list. Cause you know somebody who really know boxing would have been like, oh, he ain't got to put Haney Norman on there. He got Keyshawn, Boots, but he put Norman name on there. Then somebody said, what about Hitchens? And he was like, nah, I'll put Norman. They put Norman instead of Hitchens. You know what I'm saying? So he knows what kind of matchup this is. Yeah, Haney knows this is a tough fight. He definitely knows. The way he's training, and I seen him training with Troy Isley yesterday. Somebody posted it. If I can find the picture. Yeah, he looked big in that picture with Troy Osley. The man is definitely in the gym getting ready. Yeah, I can't see it right now, but if I can find it, I'll go back and see where it's at. He said, hopefully this influenced other boxers to go for the big fights as well. Shout out to Devontae. Yeah, Devontae speaking facts. That's what I was saying earlier, Devontae. This fight right here is putting pressure on guys to make a matchup right now. That's why you hear Shakur and Teofimo going back and forth. But what they don't realize is Canelo and Crawford already signed the fight, made that fight happen. Wasn't a lot of back and forth between them. Brian Norman and Devin Haney, same thing. We're seeing Roach and Pitbull just signed the fight. Not too much back and forth. I think it's putting pressure on the promoters too, because they want to maximize the dollar, but they gotta understand that once Turkey get a group of fighters that's willing to make these type of fights happen, and he finds out, oh, your fighter's not good enough to compete with this fighter. That's not a big fight. Because now Turkey's saying certain fights are tune-ups. Because when he first started tune-ups, like Day of Reckoning, he had a couple of fights that were tune-ups. I think Hrgovic fought like that. I think it was Hrgovic on that fight card, the first one on Day of Reckoning. But now, as I'll let Jerron Ennis do his tune-up with Eddie, but he's not doing any more tune-up fights. That goes for everybody. So if you want to get that major payday and that exposure, you gotta take a certain matchup. Yeah, the money and attention. I think Devin already put pressure on these guys right now because I'm gonna tell you why, Devontae. I think Devin already put pressure on these guys. That's why if Devin win or lose, if Devin takes this fight, I mean not take this fight, but if he wins this fight or lose, it don't matter because it's not a lot of guys rushing to fight Brian Norman anyways. I haven't heard too many people call out Brian Norman since he got the belt. Since Brian Norman has gotten the belt, I haven't heard too many people call him out. I know he was trying to fight Boots at 47, but I haven't heard too many guys call Brian Norman out outside of 147. So I think Devin Haney's in a win-win situation anyways. Because a lot of people will say if Devin Haney loses, oh, you trash. See, you lost to a guy, and then they're gonna say, hey, he gonna say, well, you fight him. Not a lot of guys gonna be willing to fight him. So they better hope that Devin Haney does get past Brian Norman, because if you don't, they're not gonna step in and fight him. Yeah, I think the fight right now is gonna be huge for both guys, regardless. I was trying to see how the fight would hurt both of them, but it's not really gonna hurt either guy, to be honest with you, because the pressure's already been put on. Haney's already undisputed. Devontae, he undisputed, and he's chasing that undisputed at 47, trying to get this belt from Brian Norman, and he's facing the toughest guy the first fight. So if he gets the belt, a guy like Rolly, see, Rolly already got to fight the guy Giazar. I don't think he can pass him. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I think Rolly loses his next fight if he fights that guy, which it looks like he's gonna fight him. So I think Haney's gonna line up with Giazar, and they'll find out what goes on with Barrios. They're talking about. I don't even want to talk about the fight they're talking about with Barrios. That's not even a real fight in my eyes. But I definitely would like to see Haney go for the undisputed at 47. But win or lose, though, a lot of people still don't want to fight these guys. They don't want to fight Haney now. After he had that Ryan Garcia situation, you still got people out here that don't want to fight him. And Brian Norman stepped right in. So yeah, Brian Norman and Devin Haney, they saving careers, hurting them at the same time. Because a lot of people gonna try to chase them belts after one of these guys become undisputed and drop the belts. Yeah, it's definitely going for undisputed. Whoever win this fight go for undisputed. If it's a classic fight, who knows, man? They might do a rematch. You know how they like to do things. But I think this is gonna be a classic matchup though. Just because these guys like an old school fight. It's really like an old school matchup. And that's what people are afraid of right now. They're looking around, they're like, oh well, what about Virgil Ortiz and Boots? Man, we gotta see if Virgil Ortiz gonna make it to the Boots fight. That's why Eddie Hearn was out here playing chess. He like, hey, that's gonna put pressure on Virgil Ortiz. So man, he's probably like 28. He's only 26. Devin Haney only 26 years old. He ain't in the prime yet. He probably won't be in his prime for another 2 years. Brian Norman probably not in his prime yet. So these two guys at the top of boxing right now, that's probably not even in the prime. He said T.O. bluffing. Yeah, they putting too much on it now, man. The way they hyping up that fight, Devontae, I'm like, man. And I like the matchup, but it's just T.O. them act like he wanted to fight too many times, and at this point, people like not really tuning in. You know, after you say 1,000 things, wait until this fight, wait until we match up. I know he'll fight Shakur, but yeah, you ain't got to build it up like that. Just make the fight happen. If they would have signed the fight, that would have been everything that fans needed to see. But I definitely think it's gonna happen though. But I don't know the way they dragging this fight on, man. It seems like they nervous for T.O. T.O. can go out there and upset Shakur. Who knows? But the way they dragging that fight on, it's like because T.O.'s been out of the ring for a while. I know he fought Barbosa, but he been out of the ring for a minute. And he's 28. It's time to start moving. Yeah, he's 28. T.O. said Shakur overrated. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna end up sleeping Shakur Stevenson though. I just don't. The defense Shakur Stevenson has gonna give him a lot of problems. A lot of problems. T.O.'s one of those guys you got to see it to believe it. You know what I'm saying? You know he a good fighter, but he don't got that same kind of hunger after he has a okay performance. He don't need to do that all the time, but not that good. He usually perform better the next fight, but it's gonna be a tough matchup for him. And Shakur's been wanting this fight for a long time. T.O. right now. He didn't get a chance at Loma. Him fighting Zepeda and then T.O. He's starting to put together a list. That's a very good list. Being the top name at 35 and 40 back to back. Yeah, he's gonna dominate. That's gonna line up that Roach fight though. They just need Lamont Roach and Shakur to win their next fights, and that'll be a top fight. I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm look the way my mind works. I'm looking forward to that Roach and Stevenson fight already, but because I thought that was possibly gonna be next. But Tiafimo fight came through, so it's not gonna happen. But from what I've heard, Lamont Roach was very close to fighting Shakur Stevenson. They were gonna make that happen. What's up, Wild Man? Everybody subscribe to Native Wild Man. And my dog, Root Exposure. He ain't here right now. Shout out to Wild Man. What's going on? Yeah, we're gonna find out who the king of 140 very soon. But I'm gonna be honest with you. If Gary Antoine Russell can get past this matchup with Hiroka, and that's gonna be a big fight we gotta talk about too. Hiroka versus Gary Antoine Russell. That's gonna be a very tough fight for Gary Antoine Russell. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. It's probably gonna be the toughest fight he has so far. Hiroka punches harder than Rayo, and he's a little more. That's a tough fight, man. So we could see an upset on a lot of fights we're not expecting. Andy Hiroka fight. Andy Hiroka probably the hardest puncher at 140. Harder than Gary Antoine Russell and what's the other? Let me see. I got the list right here. Oh, Sabril Matias. Oh, he can box too though. That's why I said it's gonna be a hard fight for Gary Antoine. But I think he'll be able to get. He can definitely outbox him. Yeah, but Hiroka he's a dog. I seen him first when he fought Sasaki. I seen him and Sasaki fight. And I knew then Sasaki, because Sasaki, he got to be. The way he was able to handle that guy's power. That's why with the Norman fight, and he was able to take Norman's power early in that fight, but later on, put straight to sleep. But he'll stand in front of some punches though. That'll let you know that how tough he is. But that guy Hiroki, he's a problem. I think in a couple of years, because I'm hearing rumors now, a lot of guys moving up to 47. The 40s, a lot of guys moving to 47. It's gonna be a lot of people moving to 160. It's just better matchups. Guys, even though we have a lot of names at 140, some of these promoters are thinking, oh, I can get a better matchup with this fighter Because people are not gonna say it, but when Haney moves to a division, a lot of people start moving towards that division because they want to have that big money fight. They know if they can get themselves in position to fight him, they'll get their biggest payday. Because most guys who fight Haney get their biggest payday. From Ryan to Regis, I think. I say I think. I don't know for sure about that one. One of his highest paydays. I'll just say that. So yeah, guys was getting paid to fight him. That's why you see people moving from 140. It wasn't too much talk going on at 140 recently. Now you got Pitbull going around making a lot of fights. Once you see that happening, you see guys at 140 ain't really moving like that. So yeah, 47 is starting to be that division, but like I said, man, too many people not trying to get in front of Brian Norman. They'll say they'll fight Boots or whoever, but when they have that opportunity to fight him, just not gonna happen. That's why it's a must that for a lot of people that Devin Haney is to beat Brian Norman, because I don't see Brian Norman stopping anytime soon. Even with, I'm telling you, the fight's not gonna change much. It'll be a good thing to talk about because it's gonna be a huge fight. But for the opponents who can possibly face these guys, win or lose, they're gonna get better after this fight. And also, it's gonna be hard for somebody to try to one up the next guy who comes in. Oh well, Haney just fought Brian Norman. Let me just try to outdo him. It's gonna be kind of hard to do that. So yeah, the pressure gonna be on regardless. I've looked at every scenario. No matter what, the pressure is on all fighters right now, all boxers, all promoters, especially now. They know more fighters than they did before over the last 5 years. People are a lot more educated, so they're not just gonna take any kind of matchup. Oh, you trying some Indian food? I ain't gonna lie, I ain't never tried that unless I don't know which certain ones I've tried I didn't know about, but yeah, I never tried any of that. But I'm hearing a lot of people recently saying that Lubin got a good chance at upsetting Ortiz. A lot of people. I think Ortiz locked in though. He's not over. Yeah, he's not overlooking Lubin. But I definitely trying to tune in to see if Ortiz can get this win over Lubin. That's gonna be. And I heard people saying recently, Lubin got knocked out by this guy. Man, that don't matter. So Boychuk got knocked out. It wasn't by Ortiz. Yeah, guys getting knocked out, that don't matter. Trust me, if Ortiz would have fought out too. That's because Charlo was knocking out everything. Yeah, once he started fighting guys like John Jackson, Charles Hatley, he knocked him out. Before he fought Lubin, he had already knocked 3 guys out in a row. Knocked out Lubin, went the distance with Trout. Harrison, stopped Rosario, went the distance with Rosario, then came back and knocked him out. I mean, Charlo done knocked out everybody he's fought, bro. Almost everybody. So yeah, Lubin getting knocked out by him is not embarrassing. He was knocking out everybody. Yeah, that's the crazy part. Charlo was knocking out everybody. Then when he knocked out Rosario, I don't know. Rosario, he had been stopped before, but when he got stopped by Charlo, he wasn't the same after that. Then Lubin had fought in the next fight. So yeah, I think Lubin's more battle tested than anybody. I think he's a lot more battle tested. I think he's in the best shape he's ever been in. Yeah, he just defeated a guy who was undefeated. So yeah, Lubin been on this streak right now, beating guys who never lost. Ramos, Holmes. And he's fought different every fight. Fight a lot smarter than he did in that Fundora fight. It's been 3 years since he fought Fundora. People gotta remember he was 26 when he fought Fundora? So he's been a lot smarter since that fight. But Fundora was like 23, I wanna say. Yeah, Fundora was only 23 though. So he's improved as well. But yeah, I think these last 3 fights were Lubin. He just hasn't been active. That last fight going 11 rounds definitely helped with Ardell Holmes. So yeah, it's gonna be a tough matchup. He got long arms too, 74-inch arm reach. Ortiz only 70. Boychuk was 73. That arm reach, because he's like straight down the middle when he throws his punches. He doesn't like angle. He doesn't add any kind of reach to his arm reach. I think Lubin gonna take advantage of that because he's already been in the ring with Fundora. So he knows how to basically go around those long punches. He said, "What's up, Timmy T?" He said, "Do you think if Devin had the opportunity to fight Jake Paul that he would have taken it?" Yeah. Yeah, everybody, nobody's turned down a chance to fight Jake Paul. Nobody. Yeah, nobody's turned down a chance to fight it's too much money in it right now. Then you got Netflix and happy to fight on Netflix. I know they're paying a lot, but people like the way Netflix been doing these fights. So yeah, a lot of fighters love the platform with Netflix on it. But yeah, anybody take that Jake Paul fight. Usyk, Bitterbill, they said they want to fight Jake Paul. Anybody. I think the only person, I don't know if Crawford would. They tried to get Crawford to fight McGregor, and he turned that down. Then they said later on that, what about in the cage? He was like, nah, I'm not fighting nobody in the cage. I'm not that good at wrestling or whatever. You know, not even that. Just that's not his expertise as far as MMA. So, but they tried to get him to go in the cage and fight somebody. You know, these guys will throw any kind of ideas out there for fights. But Tank and Jake Paul, they created the most traction. That was the most talked about fight after Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fought. They brought up Canelo and Bitter Biv and Bibble and Usyk, but they was talking about Tank. When he sent that message out, then he was talking about how he ain't like how Jake Paul did Mike Tyson. I was like, yeah, he's trying to press for that fight. Yeah, but most people will take it though. But that just goes to show that as long as you have the money lined up, any fight can get made. You know, I don't like that guys have to go fight Jake Paul to get a check. That's the thing I don't like, because it makes it seem like these guys ain't been doing nothing in boxing. You know what I'm saying? He said you saw Roach and Pitbull at $79.99. That's shoot. The Lubin and Fedora was about to be $79.99. And that card up. That's why they stacking that card all the way up. I'm not gonna lie, it's probably gonna sell. I'm gonna tell you why it's gonna sell. PBC hasn't had too many events this year. And then around the time in December, it's not really a lot of fights in December, from what I've seen. A lot of big fights. So people are gonna be like, yeah, I need something to watch. It's December. We stuck in the house. It's cold outside. Let me go ahead and just see what kind of fights they got coming up. Then, the Roach and Pitbull fight come up. People gonna watch it. It's a good fight card, though. It's a good fight card. Yeah, $79.99 is, they going overboard, man. Yeah, because in December they got Inoue fighting. They got Pacheco another card. They got Apatide. Yeah, they ain't got nobody fighting in December, so. And it's December 6th. It's going to be 2 weeks after Benavidez Yard and Norman versus Haney. It's going to be 2 weeks after that fight. Yeah, they'll be able to get away with that $79.99. They will. With Pitbull and Roach on there, it's a fight that a lot of people want to see, because Roach has this, he got all this things that's coming behind him from this Tank Davis fight. Got all this momentum. And now you got Pitbull, another guy who was a tough fight for Tank. So I think a lot of people will try to tune in for that $79.99, but oh yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, that chicken stuff you talking about. I heard about that. They like go on rice or whatever. He said Pitbull is a good co-main event, but not main event. Yeah, they're gonna use that the history of Tank Davis for these guys, but it's a good matchup though. A lot of people want to see this matchup. It's a good matchup. And with the way that Lamont Roach fought against Tank, if he can do that again and dominate Eastside Cruz and get a win, it's going to be huge. And the reason why this fight is going to be big is because if Lamont Roach wins, he'll go on to fight possibly Shakur Stevenson. So I think for that reason, it'll be a big fight for $79.99. Just because we know whoever, I don't know if whoever wins, I think it's if Roach wins, he'll fight Shakur Stevenson or try to. So yeah, with that storyline, it'll make people want to pay. He said WBA just mandated Pulev, who was 80 years old, versus Moses. Yeah, I know. Pulev versus Moses is a matchup that should have happened when he fought White. I thought that he was gonna fight Pulev like 5 months ago. It went from Pulev to no, I think Wardley was gonna fight Pulev. Then it went from that to Wardley fighting Jarrell Miller, then Big Justice Huney because he replaced him. So yeah, man, they got these two guys just all over the place right now. It's really annoying because they dominate the headlines for no reason. They were supposed to have Michael Hunter fighting Pulev, but since I don't even know if that fight with him is still happening. Yeah. Chisora or somebody. It's somebody he could possibly fight Chisora. I think he'll fight Chisora before Chisora fights Zilly Zhang. Zilly Zhang will be a hard matchup for Chisora. They might lean towards Michael Hunter. But yeah, that heavyweight division is all over the place. Yeah, he was supposed to fight Jarrell Miller. Fight never went through. But yeah, that would have been a good matchup. But Moses versus Pulev, I don't want to see that fight. That's like watching Dillian White all over again. See it, man. I think Moses Thomas gonna go out there and beat him. He's been out a long time too. You never know. Pulev might go out there and surprise him though. He only been stopped twice by Klitschko and Joshua. It's not bad. But yeah, he ain't been fighting nobody though, so might end up bad for him. Yeah, I don't like that matchup for Moses. I would like to see him fight someone a little younger. I know it's still early for him, but Pulev got the belt though. That's the direction they going in. Yeah, this fight with Tank is gonna be in 4. This fight with Tank is going on in 4 weeks, and it's gonna be on a Friday. And I heard people get mad at Carissa Shields for what she said. I'm like, man, if nobody's gonna call it out, So they have a chance to fight anybody they want. Definitely been offered an opportunity. I mean, you definitely got a chance to mix it up right now. This fight between Norman and Haney, they're gonna solidify that 147 division, and that's gonna be the guy to beat. And it's probably not gonna happen with a lot of people. I can see both of those guys become a champion probably after a loss. But I'm telling you, don't be surprised if it's a draw. I don't hear too many people betting on the draw, but me myself, I'm leaning towards a draw. If no knockdown happens, it's going to be a draw. They got a lot of fights being made for November though, and December. They're starting to move on to January now. Just announced Erica Cruz. Oh yeah, they got a fight coming on this Friday. What's the girl name? Rosado, Crystal Rosado. That last, they gonna have to do a better job, bro. They're trying to line her up for this young girl. If she don't come to fight, I'm gonna call it out. Because that last fight, Johnson was getting tagged, man. Even though Metcalf wasn't stable a lot of the fight, she was all over the place. She was tagging Johnson. I'm talking about she was tagging her. The round before it got stopped, she was tagging her. So yeah, they gotta do a better job. Don't they got 3-minute rounds this Friday? I think they're doing 3-minute rounds. We'll see how that goes, but 3-minute rounds should be a game changer. We're gonna see a lot more stoppages in women's boxing with these 3-minute rounds. Oh, it's only gonna be it's gonna be 3 minutes. Yeah, this Friday it's gonna be 3 minutes. I don't know if every women's fight is gonna be 3 minutes, but hold on, is every fight gonna be 3 minutes? Oh yeah, okay. So they only got one fight that's gonna be 3 minutes. Yeah, man. But she need to be trying to run through this girl because they trying to line her up. And she going against a Amanda Serrano fighter on MVP Promotions. Yeah, she definitely about to get lined up. She gonna come out to fight though. She knows what time it is. She been in the game a long time. But for her not to be ranked top 10 in the IBF, I'm talking about she not even number 11. They been trying to get that belt off of her so long. They tried to get it off of her for that Pro Box fight. Talking about Yoshida won that fight. Yeah, people actually saying that. Let's see, somebody has to sign for it just to validate or receive my question. Dang. Yeah, I gotta make a video about that, but yeah, they definitely the way the commission did her with that fight, they tried to get the belt off of her bad, man. They had her fight Yoshida twice to give her a chance at the belt. She got UD both times. Yeah, that's just crazy how they doing her. But yeah, these matchups in boxing is starting to come together a lot more faster though. We got Danny Garcia coming up this weekend. He got a nice card this weekend. Got Gabe Rosado versus Vaughn Alexander. Devin Alexander brother. Uh you got Dominic Crowder versus Fernando Diaz, Chris Colbert returning. Then you got Naira Albright versus Richard Comey. Got some good fights coming on this weekend. That's gonna be Saturday. It's not gonna be on the zone, but they will be streaming the fight somehow. It's gonna be in Brooklyn, New York, though. Anybody in Brooklyn? They got Danny Garcia last fight this weekend. Should be good. Then next week you got Joseph Parker versus Fabio Wardley. I don't know. The way Joseph Parker energy is right now, it's kind of low. Not to say he's out of it, but you know, to be trying to get a title this many times and you're still fighting guys like Wardley. Man, this would be one of those fights where Wardley would come out there and surprise him. Because because Justice Huney is similar to Joseph Parker. Yeah, he's similar to Joseph Parker, so I think Fabio Wardley would have a good chance. Yeah, they're the same size, man. Justice Huney and Joseph Parker are the same size. They do the same thing. Their KO rate is almost the same. So yeah, even though Wardley, I don't think he's on the level of a Parker, he can have a good chance of winning this fight with Joseph Parker. At 94% KO rate. Yeah, that draw with Clark. I don't know, man. I know that Parker can go out there and outbox him. But if he's able to land a good shot on Parker, he could make something happen. But yeah, that's gonna be a good matchup though. I keep forgetting about that fight between Joseph Parker and Wardley. It's gonna be a good heavyweight matchup. We need the heavyweight division to kind of get something going. They've been relying on Usyk for a minute now to make these tough fights in heavyweights, but They need some other guys to step up. You got Parker who's doing a lot of the heavy lifting, but a lot of other guys is doing nothing. I know Hergovich just fought recently. You got Piccoli still around. I'm not gonna lie though, some of these guys don't have to weigh in. I mean, not weigh in, but they don't have to gain no weight or lose weight. So I don't even know why heavyweights don't fight as much. Yeah, they don't weigh in that much. As far as like having to get in a certain shape to make weight, and yeah, they should be able to jump right in. The guys who couldn't, you just leave them out. But the guys who can mix it up, I would definitely involve them a lot more. I don't like what they're doing to the heavyweight division right now. They still got a lot of other names involved though. They have about 50 names that's involved. That's good, but not the matchups we looking for right now. But I will say this year is they loaded up all the fights for the last 3 months. Yeah, they definitely loaded up the last couple of months. Because even this weekend, still got Danny Garcia and these people fighting. Parker next week. Then you're gonna have Ortiz and Lubin early in November. Yeah, I watched a little bit of that Jake Paul fight, but I don't. Man, I don't know if I'm gonna tune in for that. Not because I don't want to, but around that time on a Friday, man, I just don't know. They're using the same kind of formula as last time. And I wonder is Jake Paul gonna fight in November all the time? Like every time when November comes around, he gonna have these type of fights because that's 2 in a row. That's 2 years in a row he fought in November, these type of fights. Last year was Mike Tyson, this year was Tank. Could it be somebody else next year? Now we talking about him having a date. Fighting on the same day every year. That'll be crazy if a real professional, which has happened already. But every year, Timmy T said Moses fighting people at bingo hall. Yeah, they did. They mandated Pulev to Moses, which is crazy. They keep throwing already. Every time you look around, it's a different name. He said, "Do you think the ranking system and belts are watered down?" I think it's gotten better for certain fighters. They do it. They kind of like they make the belts get watered down. To be honest with you, because sometimes things they do make sense, but they haven't been pushing the mandatories like that. If they were forcing guys to fight mandatories or get stripped, then the rankings will make sense. But when you have people stepping in and paying step aside and Because most of the time when they're paying step aside money, they're paying for fights we don't want to see after that. They're not doing paying step aside money so we can have a lucrative fight. It's something else that's going on. That's why sometimes I think the rankings make sense, but it seems like it's outdated though. Because as we've seen recently, a lot of these matchups, they get changed week to week. Like sometimes we want to see two guys fight, and then 3 months later, we're like, man, let's just watch somebody else. Like, people wanted to see Tank Davis and Haney, but then it went from that to, let's see the Ryan Garcia rematch. Now it's, let's see Brian Norman versus Haney. So a lot of times those rankings, they kind of mess up a lot of matchups. Some fights we'll never see because of those rankings and belts. Like they all make sense because rankings and boxing, that's what make boxing. But when it gets to a point where we can't see certain matchups because of the rankings, I don't like the rankings. And that's where a lot of people at with the rankings right now. They like, if it's gonna help us get better fights, yeah, I'm with it. But it hasn't been like that for a long time. It's actually putting guys in position to get exposed. He said Rolly is being called a 3-division champion today. That has to say belts are watered down. Yeah, you're right about it. Even though he's taking certain matchups that's tough, yeah, it's watered down for sure. For sure. Even him getting a chance at 47. Him and Ryan, I'm like, man, come on. So yeah, it's definitely watered down. That's why a lot of times when people say, "Oh, this guy's a champion," it doesn't really hold value like that. Well, they'll be like, "Oh, well, that guy's a champion too. Why he ain't fought him?" So yeah, I think a long time ago somebody said it was too many belts. I think Floyd Mayweather said that. When I first heard that, I didn't understand what he was talking about. I wasn't checking for the belts like that, but he's kind of right. Those too many belts. Floyd Mayweather stated that there are too many belts and the champions. He said, and champions in boxing, which he feels has watered down the sport and made it difficult to determine a true champion. He argues that the proliferation of belts from sanctioning bodies like the WBC, WBA, IBF, and WBO is a result of them collecting extra money from sanctioning fees for each title, making it easier for more fighters to become champions. Floyd believes this diminishes the prestige of a title and that there ain't no such thing as a super champion anymore. Yeah. He said, they said Floyd feels that with so many belts available, becoming a champion is like winning a amateur trophy, and seeing that everybody with a belt is not good for sport, good for boxing. Floyd, hey, listen to this. He argues that the real reason for so many belts is the financial incentive for sanctioning bodies to collect fees for each title, including intern or super versions. Mayweather has called for the sport to clean this issue up and has even suggested creating his own belts. Floyd has even suggested creating his own belt to fix the issue, stating that if the sport can't be cleaned up, then his belt will be the only one that counts. That's funny. With everything that's going on right now, that's funny. He said it's all about money, more weight classes, more belts equal more sanctioning fees. Boxing used to only have 7 weight classes. Yeah, you're right about that. And people out, people would think of that and say, "Oh man, why y'all mad about that? We got these guys fighting." And nobody's mad about it. It's just it's almost like Norman and Haney fighting right now. People feel like, "Oh, Norman, Haney's fighting at his natural weight class that he should be at, and Norman's at his natural weight class." And it's a great matchup that's about to happen in a couple of weeks. That's all they really mean. Not a guy like Haney moving up and then he beat Ramirez and somebody hand him a belt and be like, "Hey, you the champion now." The way that uh the way that's explained as far as the 7 weight classes that Timmy T's talking about. Yeah, Floyd has already said this though. That's the only reason this is funny. Because everything Dana White said, Floyd said. Floyd said it already. And Floyd knows more about the boxing business than all of us put together. So, especially in 2025. It's just funny that he said that. I'm actually going to save this because this is actually hilarious. Yeah, but he was the first guy I heard say that, though. Then I started thinking about it. I was like, oh, the belts. That's where the idea came from for me. Because now the belts is becoming a problem. It was at one point when people were watching boxing, they wasn't really paying attention to the belts like that because everything was flowing the way it was supposed to. But once it got to the certain point where guys were jumping weight classes and 2 or 3 weight classes, and then people didn't know who the guy was who was jumping 2 or 3 weight classes, or he wasn't even the best at his weight class before he jumped up. Not what Dan Crawford doing. I'm talking about guys who wasn't even undisputed yet. That's when all that was going on. So now when you have guys at their natural weight classes and everything else, and even a lot of boxers said recently that you have to weigh in a certain way with Ring Magazine. Like with Ring Magazine, you have to be close to your weight during fight week. Not Ring Magazine, but Riyadh season, my bad. You have to be close to your fight weight during fight week. So if you hear a lot of fighters saying, I'm thinking about moving up, they're actually thinking about moving up. They're actually thinking about moving up. I know a lot of people said that Haney walks around 165. That's definitely not true because we're going to see if that's true during fight week. And it's not going to happen because he already weighed in at 44 in May. So his weight is going to be on point. But for the people who fans didn't look at as far as their weight, they're going to have to move up just because of the rules as far as weighing in during fight week. You can't get on the Riyadh card and be 20 pounds over talking about on Monday talking about, yeah, I'm gonna be on weight on Friday. Yeah, they're not doing that. That's too much of a risk. We said, look at heavyweight. WBA is making money. Regular champion, and Worley is the intern. WBA is eating. Yeah, bro, they eating. And not only that, when they had then they had the fight with Char and Pulev. I was like, man, WBA putting on some fights for a belt every week. Yeah, you're not lying. WBA is definitely eating. And you seen what they did a couple of days ago. Well, what was it? 2 days ago? They came out and said we're gonna put together Nick Ball and Figueroa, and we're gonna have Roller Romero versus Giazar. Yeah, WBA is definitely about to be eaten. They know what's going on right now. They like, hey, we finna collect everything we can right now. Allegedly, they said we about to collect everything we can because we know the time is ticking right now. Because they know once certain fighters get offered certain things, they're not gonna sit up here and try to hey about a title shot or something. Dana White said, and go get a payday. People say he's not gonna be able to pay. Well, hey, we'll see about that. I'm pretty sure he'll be able to pay the same thing those guys are making on Pro Box. And a lot of fans like the fights on Pro Box. That's all I see, really. You gonna see a lot of guys say, "Man, I'm not gonna pay for this title. I'll just go over there and I'll choose the payday over the title." That's what the sanctioning bodies are kind of holding on to. They want guys to be like, "Hey, you're a champion." But these days, guys are gonna pick the money over the title, anyways. That's gonna always happen. So I think now with guys knowing that you got these sanctioning fees and you're not fighting that much throughout the year, they're gonna lean towards going over there where Dana White is if he's paying more than what they're receiving. Because a lot of guys who champion ain't making money like that. You can kind of tell by how small some of the fights are. But yeah, you need a little competition in boxing though. Competition is always good. I've learned that. The more people that come in and do new stuff, it's always going to put pressure on other people. Because there's no way that PBC can go another year with these amount of fights they have right now. Let's see how many fights PBC had this year. I know they had the Tank. They had the Tank fight. They had the Benavidez fight. They had the Fundora fight with Booker. Okay, yeah. They had the Benavidez Morrell fight. They had the Tank fight with Roach, Fundora, Booker, Tim Tszyu, Joey Spencer, Caleb Plant, and Charlo in May. Then they had Manny Pacquiao, Barrios with Fundora and Tszyu. So they had 6 events this year. And the last one is going to be Roach versus Pitbull. And those are some big fights. You're going to have 5 mega fights? It's not a bad number. It's not a bad number. As far as smaller cards, it would have been a lot better if they would have sprinkled some small fights in there, but it's not bad. But with the roster they have, it's bad. Yeah, with the roster they have, that is definitely bad. The reason why I say that's bad is because You're gonna have Inouye on the zone, Pacheco on the zone. You're gonna have Ja Batai. Man, you got a lot of fights coming up around that. Even though you got a lot of guys from PBC that's gonna be fighting on the zone, like Benavidez and Gary Antoine Russell. You still got a lot of talent sitting on the side, man. I thought that Charlo and those guys were gonna fight this year. So you're not finna have Charlo fight this year. Not gonna have Earl Spence fight this year. Yeah, that's not good, man. I feel like right now they're going past an era without everybody noticing it. But they're taking away the best years from the fighters of the last era. That's why Danny Garcia retiring this weekend. It's gonna be his last fight. And I think Danny Garcia is around the same age as Keith Thurman, or if not younger. Keith Thurman, 36. Danny Garcia is around what? 37. Yeah, it's hanging it up now, man. It's a different era coming in. But yeah, him not fighting that much in the last few years is definitely a bad sign. I thought that maybe PBC, because they had the pandemic and everything was going on, that slowed stuff down. But no, it's just a major change, man. The zone is a lot more powerful than they realized. Once they had Turkey Al-Sheikh and these other people involved, there's no turning back now. And I thought PBC would have probably got a platform or an app after a while, but they never invested in one. The Amazon Prime move, I guess it's been good so far because you got more fights this year, but we're talking about going from July to December with no fight. What are we doing? July from December. We ain't got no talent in America where you can find somebody to fight from July to December on PBC and you can make your money. I think they just can't go through these years of postponing fights all the time. When you postpone fights and it gets normal, it's not good. Because we just got Gary Russell Jr. back active again. And it seems like a lot of fans want to see him back in action. But he's not the reason he hasn't been fighting, though. I don't think it's his fault he hasn't been fighting. And he's 37 as well. He's 37. Danny Garcia is 37. And they fought 2 or 3 times since 2020. 3 or 4 times since 2020. Once every 2 years? Man, that's crazy. Yeah, man, I don't know what direction PBC going, but it's been 5 years now. The transition has been made. I haven't seen that roster in a while either. Like their official roster. But yeah, they got some names on here, but man, a lot of these guys haven't fought in a long time. When is Charlo gonna get back in the ring? He's 35. They got Jesse Hart coming back in December 6th. That's what it says on the website. Yeah, man, they got so many names that's not active. I think Raya only fought one time this year. Yeah, that Fedor and Thurman fight not happening is definitely gonna be a setback for 154. Yeah, we gotta see what happens next year, but this year we know who's making the moves right now in boxing. But I think it's gonna be good for the young guys in boxing right now to show them that you can really move past these guys instead of sitting back trying to be friendly. You can take this opportunity to move up and be one of the faces. Whether that's Shakur Stevenson or Brian Norman or Devin Haney, all the talks about guys ducking and who they aren't fighting, that's going away right now. See, once people don't have the chance to talk about Shakur or Devin Haney ducking, now boxing is going in a total different direction. Now you got to talk about how they're going to match up and how guys going to actually beat them. But I think them getting past that is going to be a huge milestone for them because it's a lot of people sitting up here saying that they didn't want to fight Tank Davis. And now these guys are fighting Teofimo and Brian Norman Jr. A lot of people said Brian didn't want to fight Jerron Ennis. He's fighting Devin Haney though. Yeah, so you either got to put up or shut up at this point. I think this era right now, which will be probably at least for the next 3 or 4 years, you either got to put up or shut up. Because the only reason Turkey Al Sheik is even involved because they said the money, they need money to do certain things to make certain fights happen. So he's here to make that happen. So it's definitely no more excuses. But my thing is this right here. If I was a boxer right now and I got any kind of relationship with Turkey Al Sheik or a big name promoter, I'm trying to be in the same position as Devin Haney and Benavidez. Because all I see from this situation is Turkey Al Sheik knows that Benavidez and Haney are trying to fight everybody, which I've already said before, but this is confirmation right here, especially what's going on. He's grabbing the guys he knows wants to fight everybody. He even said it on his Twitter or X. Turkey Al Sheik said Devin Haney will fight anybody. And everybody ain't like that. Yeah. And I'm glad that I don't have to hear about the days of a lot of fighters waiting on Canelo Alvarez for a fight. I felt like that was starting to get out of hand. We had guys who never been champion talking about, hey, I'm waiting on Canelo. If you're at 168, of course you're not going to be champion, but if you wasn't trying to fight Benavidez or nobody, man, please. Oh, man. Yeah, I just seen something. My bad. I just seen Turkey Al Sheik still talking about some future fights that's coming up. But I'm not gonna lie though, the only reason as I forgot, was it Tiny T? Somebody had said earlier about the fight being $79.99 for Roach versus Pitbull. That's kind of the only fight you can really tune in and see some real boxing outside of oh, you're gonna have real fights on, but I'm saying the ones you're kind of looking for. Outside of Haney and Norman and Benavidez and Yard and Bam Rodriguez and Puma Martinez, the only fight card you're really gonna have is the Pitbull and Roach fight card. It's not many fights on that Tank Davis and Jake Paul fight outside of Gary Antoine Russell. You got Bumgarner on there. Think she gonna be fighting 3 minutes. But yeah, you don't got that many fights on that card. You got Avius Griffin fighting again. You know, Costa Vaiz, Sharnika Johnson. Yeah, so I see why people might pay $79.99 to see Roach fight. I don't know if they're gonna use that storyline that Roach could fight Shakur Stevenson in 2025. If they use that storyline, then the fight definitely will sell. Because that's a realistic chance that can happen. But something tells me they don't want that fight between Shakur Stevenson and Roach to happen. I'm telling y'all right now. They do not want that fight to happen between what's going on, Dark Kent? He said, what's your thoughts on Boots' performance over Lima and who would be the next best opponent for Boots in your opinion? My thoughts on the performance by Boots. I thought Boots was gonna get the knockout. After a while, when I thought about it, I said it's gonna be an easy fight for him. I mean, was I impressed? Anybody who knocks somebody out in the first round, you're gonna be impressed. You're gonna be impressed by it. But going into the fight, people didn't really like the opponent. But I would say this: for a tune-up fight, I felt like a tune-up for Boots would have been the Abbas guy or Taez, because I look at Boots like he's on that level. So my tune-up for Boots was him fighting that Taez guy instead of Abbas. So this fight, I didn't even consider even like a tune-up. It was just something to have. But to knock the guy out in the first round and for him to be a tune-up, I felt like that was pointless. There's no reason why anybody should get a tune-up and knock him out in the first round. I know you don't play with boxers, but that guy couldn't have been top 10. And we might not see that guy ever again. For him to be top 10, we might not see him ever again. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that Boots' performance was Aaron just got a second round knockout against a nobody. You know what I'm saying? Got a second round knockout that same day. So I could get on here and be like, man, Karen just he better than Shakur Stevenson. So that's what a lot of people are doing. You know what I'm saying? But just to let everybody know that, hey, that can happen with anybody. Anybody can go out there and knock out anybody in the first round, second round. So that's just how I look at it. Realistically, like it didn't really do anything. Just to be honest. Because what are we comparing it to? Brian Norman Jr.? I felt like the knockout, me personally, I felt like after thinking about it, I felt like the only reason that knockout was even pursued the way it was is because of what Brian Norman did. because everybody knew that Boots can get a guy out of there in the first round. He probably could. Boots probably got guys out of there in the first round. But my whole thinking was he was going to 154 to have a tune-up and to get some rounds in. So if rounds in at 54 to blasting the guy, then letting everybody know I'm here. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I felt like if Boots would have fought Ortiz this weekend, he probably could have beat Ortiz. But now, with Ortiz, he's about to go fight Lubin, and if Ortiz get past Lubin, I'm picking Ortiz next fight. I mean, any sane man should. If Boots fought Boychuk, Majramov, and then fought Lubin, anybody would pick the guy who fought just beat Lubin. But I don't think the fight helps him though at all. None of these fights have helped him. I don't think I just don't. I see everybody else getting better, and he's knocking guys out in the first round. If he's getting better, it's outside the ring, outside of the ring as far as these professional fights. Probably in sparring and things like that, he's getting better, but we haven't seen it yet. We're gonna see Devin Haney get tested before he will. That's just where we at right now. But it's not his fault though. I'll give him this because I do speak facts over here. Boots did fight Stanionis after Ortiz couldn't fight Stanionis. I don't know how many times that Ortiz tried to fight Stanionis, but he tried to fight Stanionis a lot of times. It didn't happen. So, as far as I know, Boots fought Ortiz is a guy that Ortiz was supposed to fight already. Yeah, Virgil Ortiz, Stanionis fight was canceled 3 times. They were supposed to fight 2022, 2023 twice. So yeah, that was a guy that Ortiz was supposed to fight. So I don't know if he had it in his mind, like, let me just try to fight the guy that Ortiz was going to fight, get the belt. Because people don't remember, but Ortiz and Boots was supposed to fight after that. Or try to fight after that, but that's what kind of held it up. But yeah, to be honest with you, we both been waiting on these guys. Both of these guys ain't ready for Terrence Crawford. That's how I see it. He said now that Boots got his feet wet at 54, the next best opponent for Boots, I would say Baccarat because he has a belt. He seems to be the most avoided, and it will be a statement fight to put 154 on notice. Also, Boots beating Baccarat would give him a lot leverage to set up the Virgil Ortiz fight, in my opinion. Yeah, at 54, that would be the best fight for him to fight Baccarat. I don't know if he wants to go in that direction with Baccarat because Eddie Hearn is already doing what I thought he would. He's gonna try to do everything possible, allegedly, to get this Conor Ben fight going. Because you gotta think about it, Conor Ben, and if Conor Ben wouldn't have fought Chris Eubanks, right? He wouldn't have no fight going on right now. So I think that Boots would have already fought for the belt that Abbas has. If Conor Ben would have been involved as far as at 54, but I think behind the scenes they waiting on that fight. But him and Ortiz still will fight though. I think Boots and Ortiz still will. I haven't heard too many people saying that Ortiz will beat Fundora. Ortiz, yeah, Ortiz will beat Fundora. I noticed that recently, so I was like, Ortiz most likely will make that fight happen. I'm trying Redwood. I'm gonna have to try it. But yeah, if he was a threat to the point where I'm like, man, I think he can beat Fundora right now. Between him and Boots, but Ortiz career take a lot of pressure off him too. He wouldn't have to be in prove-it mode. Now I'm gonna say this: Boots getting the fight with Ortiz right now, or either if his next fight or 2 fights away. If he's not fully prepared for that fight the way or battle tested the way Ortiz is, it's gonna show. We all know this. It's definitely gonna show. So I just didn't like the whole tune-up situation, man, to be honest with you. It kind of reminds me of Joshua when he fought in Ghana and he looked good. Then I had a long live after that. I'm like, bro, the man ain't do nothing, man. It wasn't hating. It was just like people don't understand what they just did. A man who needs to be getting better does not need to be going in the ring flatlining somebody who's unprepared. You can't get prepared for a test or go against a lesser competition and try to be prepared for the best. Like, it just doesn't happen like that. And that Lima guy, man, I'm gonna be honest with you, he probably was one of the worst guys he fought recently. He might have been worse than Avernesia. I thought Avernesia had a chance to get knocked out that fast. But Lubin, but also not Lubin, but Lima. My bad, Lima. But Lima getting knocked out that fast, it's a bad look, man. That guy might not ever box again. Like I told somebody the other day, that guy Lima is gonna have every boxer who faces him from now on try to knock him out in the first round. I'm telling you that right now. Every boxer that Lima goes against, they're gonna try to knock him out in the first round. That's not gonna be a good career to have. You know, all boxers, people try to knock boxers out in the first round. I'm talking about him. They gonna be like, oh, that's that guy Boots fought. I'm finna see how my power is compared to Boots. I'm finna knock this dude out in the first round. So he gonna be ducking and dodging in the first round his next 10 fights. That's all that performance did for him. It put a target on Lima back, and that's about it. I'm gonna be honest, I believe Boots will beat Ortiz by stoppage, but Baccarat is the most avoided, so get him out the way early before Ortiz. I don't know what that situation with Baccarat is. I think Baccarat needs to kind of speak up a little bit more because Baccarat had a fight with Josh Kelly. They said was lined up, but then Josh Kelly said he didn't hear nothing back from them. Then they had the Lubin fight set up. Then Baccarat said that told Lubin nobody wants to make our fight. He said that like in August. I want to say he was like nobody wants to make our fight, and I'm like nobody wants to make the fight. Who doesn't want to make a Baccarat versus Lubin fight? So I don't think Bakaram is getting avoided all the way. It's just whoever said they didn't want to put the fight together with him and Bakaram, that's bad news. But Charlo was supposed to fight Bakaram years ago though. He even signed a contract to fight Bakaram. I always feel like that's his opponent that he needs to face. If I was Jamel Charlo, I'd come back and fight Bakaram. Bakaram hasn't been that active over the last few years either. This is not a guy who's been fighting a lot. If you look at his resume, he's been fighting like once a year, like everybody else. So if I'm Jerron Ennis, I definitely go after him. And Tim Tszyu actually had some success against Bakaram, but he was fighting wild. He was trying to get a knockout. Then he says later on, "Oh yeah, I was trying to get a knockout early against this guy." Nah, say he tried to knock the guy out first couple of rounds. Yeah, but Bakaram only fought twice last year. Then before that, he didn't fight until 2022. He fought twice. He fought once in 2021. And the crazy part about that is I think in 2021 on the Jamel Charlo Brian Castano card, the first one. The first fight Jamel Charlo had with Brian Castano, Bakaram fought on there. And then later on, he tried to do a fight with Jamel Charlo. Jamel Charlo had the rematch with Castano. Then they had to pay step aside when he fought Canelo. He signed the contract to fight Bakaram after he fought Castano for the rematch. Then they said you can either fight him or get stripped. Then they were nice about it. After Charlo fought Canelo, they still went back, even though they weren't supposed to. They still went back and said, Charlo will give you more time to fight Bakaram. And then that's when Tim Tszyu said, I'll fight him. But Tim Tszyu ended up fighting Tony Harrison. But Tim Tszyu and Bakaram was supposed to fight like January 2023. Because both of those guys was mandatories for Jamel Charlo. But Bakaram already made a contract, so once you sign a contract to fight the undisputed fighter, you're not gonna turn around and be like, yeah, let me fight Tim Tszyu while I'm waiting. He was like, nah, I'm gonna wait on Charlo so I can get this undisputed fight. And you already got step aside money, so yeah, that was the right decision to make. But yeah, I think the way they're just handling Bakaram right now, because he said earlier this year he was waiting on PBC to see what they were doing, since he was already working with PBC. So this is technically still like a PBC thing because Lubin was still involved with PBC. Bakaram's he has a situation where he's working with them. But they haven't made the fight yet. No fights with Bakaram. The man hasn't fought since October of 2024. So I don't think that Boots can force Bakaram to get in a situation right now. Because he hasn't fought in a year. And he's waiting on PBC, so I don't know. What's up, John? What's going on? He said Devin been fighting the best. Only that's why I'm always give him my respect. Yeah, you're right. Always fight the best. It's putting a lot of pressure on people too. Because even if Devin Haney loses or wins against Brian Norman Jr., it's not a lot of people trying to call out Brian Norman Jr. for a fight. And just because Devin Haney gets past Brian Norman Jr., I don't have a lot of confidence that these other guys could. So you got to pick your poison either way. And that's going to be the hard part. A lot of these guys, they're going to try to go around both of these guys eventually. They're doing it right now, but it's going to be worse once these guys have this fight. He said Mel versus Tszyu would be a good bounce back for both of them, in my opinion. Yeah, I said that too. Yeah, I said that too. Jamel versus Tim Tszyu. That's actually a good fight. I said Tim Tszyu versus somebody else too. I think it was Boachuk. Yeah, I think Boachuk or somebody like that. Even though he just lost, shoot, they both coming off losses. Got Majramov out there. You got Conwell. Yeah, Boots tried to fight Conwell, but the money they was offering wasn't enough. But they did offer Charles Conwell a fight. But the money they was paying was not enough. Conwell turned down that fight, and they tried to pay Rashidi Ellis a certain amount. He turned the fight down. But certain people, ain't gonna turn the fight down though. Certain people, is not gonna turn the fight down. And as we know now, Brian Norman Jr. ain't turning down no fights. And that's what kind of hurt a lot of what Jaron Ennis has going on right now. They kind of hung the boogeyman thing on Brian Norman not taking the fight, but it's not really true right now. He's fighting the guy that people thought Boots should have fought, and vice versa. So both of these guys were trying to fight Boots Ennis, Brian Norman and Devin Haney. That's why you gotta make some fights happen soon, man. Eventually, because you don't want to be in the crowd where you're part of that group where you're like, hey, this guy, he could do this if you get in the ring with this person. It's like, man, make it happen already. Who cares? That's how a lot of people feel. 154 is starting to get a little flat right now. Being honest with you. That weight class is starting to really fall apart. You got Abbas, who already got a belt now. You got Lima, who was just top 10. You got Conor Ben, who could easily slip in there and get a chance at the belt. Then you got Xander Zayas, 23, and he's a champion at 54. So you never know, man. A lot of people might end up moving up to 60. I don't think these guys want to mix it up at 54 like that. Until they prove otherwise, I don't think they want to mix it up like that. Or at least the promoters. Because pushing that Thurman and Fundora fight back is the worst thing they can do. Because now you have two guys, Thurman and Fundora, who would have been open, available for a fight at 54 with whoever. Now you got them locked down until next year. Then you got Virgil Ortiz. He's fighting Lubin next. So you never know, man. That vision, it needs some work right now. It needs some revitalization because with Majramov, he's still top 10. Then you got Cullen Walsh and Vargas. You don't want to have no Cullen Walsh versus Vargas type of fights as co-main event for the next 2 years at 54. Because the fact that those guys showed up at 54 and was co-main event, it's like, man, I know 54 isn't like that right now. But we still had Boachuk and Adams. That was a good fight. It was a rematch, but yeah, I just don't know, man. I feel like a lot of guys gonna get out of 60 before. Get out of 154 and go to 60 before everything starts to really happen. Because 154 is a good weight class, but as I said last year, don't be surprised that 160 is the next spot. Middleweight. And we seen now a lot of guys are moving to 160. Or at least thinking about it. You got Ortiz who's thinking about 60. It's not a lot of names to compete with at that weight class. Yeah, man. This is why sometimes people are saying that we should have one belt in each weight class, less weight classes, because it's a lot of avoiding going on. It's definitely a lot of avoiding going on, but it's done on purpose sometimes. These promoters, they don't want to put guys in certain positions to lose. They just don't. They want to have certain fights they already lined up. They want those fights to happen, and you can't make them happen if guys are losing over and over. Yeah, so anything can happen. But yeah, man, I appreciate everybody for coming through for the live, man, tuning in. We got some more news when I get off of here, but I appreciate everybody for tuning in on the live today, man. Everybody coming through, hitting the like button. Shout out to Dark Kent, John, everybody, Wild Man coming through.